Recording? Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, we're recording. Hello, everyone. Um, this is Majid, and I'm here with Tara and Neel from Moorcheh AI. And today we want to go through explaining what Moorcheh Enterprise is. And we haven't really explained it thoroughly. And this session is intended to show you guys, and also for ourselves, to clarify all the aspects, all the features, how it's really done when you want to deploy the Moorcheh Enterprise. So let's start with a quick intro. Do you want to go ahead, Tara?
Sure, yeah. So I'm CEO and co-founder of Moorcheh AI. Yeah, it's exciting to go through this.
And Neil?
Hi, I'm a software developer at Moorcheh AI, and we've been building this product and would be excited to share how the enterprise version works.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So it will be more like a conversation. We don't have anything like a scripted. We just want to go
Great.
through and step by step explain what Moorcheh is. So from the ground up, if I want to explain, so there's a technology at the core of Moorcheh, which is a different kind of um, semantic search. Is based on information theory. And the algorithms behind it allowed us to build a fully serverless architecture. This architecture is on AWS, but can be replicated on GCP. And there is access to one deployment instance on Moorcheh AI. If you go there, you can sign up, and there's a community free version of it. And maybe it's good to start with that part. So let me share my screen and start explaining, starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, so please let me know if you can see my screen. Yeah, so as of today, this is what you see on Moorcheh website, moorcheh.ai, and then you can log in. It gives you access to a full dashboard. This dashboard, I call it equivalent of Notebook LM, but at production quality. And what I mean by that is that you have the ability to create namespaces, and that's what we call like knowledge base. That we use this term equivalent. And there are two main types of them. They're either text-based or vector-based. For vector-based, you take care of embedding and vectorization of the data, and then you upload it into a vector namespace. For text-based, you can actually create your own knowledge base by uploading text, PDFs, all kinds of documents, JSON, text, CSV, and for the enterprise version, it's accepts all image types as well. So, do you guys want to add anything um, here? Oh, by the way, this can handle large files. At the
Yeah.
beginning, there was a limit of 20 to 50 megabytes per individual file. So we developed a new method that can handle files up to few gigabytes, up to even
Yeah.
5 gigabytes in individual file. Of course, it would take time. And once you upload it, Moorcheh would take care of ingesting the file, getting the file into individual chunks, creating the summaries, and putting them into database for you. And then you can go to the playground, choose a model that you want, and start chatting with your knowledge base. And you can control all aspects of the chat, including temperature, prompts, relevance. And one thing that is unique to Moorcheh is that everything, all the calculations come with a ranking scoring mechanism, which is based on information theory. And if you put on this kiosk mode toggle, it would add a layer of security and automatically filters out anything that is below the threshold. And the way to set the threshold relevance is right here at this widget. Um, Now, the header prompt and footer prompt are basically two sections of the prompt that sandwich the query and the relevant chunks. So the query and relevant chunks come in between these two sets, and you can control all kind of agentic or LLM role at the header, and you can specify the format and also the relevance and restrictions at the footer. We also have a feature to have a specific format, like um, JSON format for the output. So that makes sure in the production you always get the format you want. Neil, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Mm.
We have the default schema set into the backend. So the way we does is if you just turn on the structured mode on, we have the default schema and we give the response in a structured format. There is
Mhm.
another way you could use your custom schema, pass your custom JSON, and whenever you query the LLM model, it will give you the response in a structured way that you suggested to the LLM. So that way you can ensure that you get you always get an output in the same format. So you could build an application on top of that. You could literally rely on that you're gonna get the same output at every time.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, it enforces that type of specific output. I think
Yeah.
there's more information in the documentation
Yeah.
section of our
Generative AI response.
in the Gen AI response. This is where you call the answer endpoint, which does the entire RAG in one API call. And you can specify the model, the all the details of a RAG. You can specify them in a single call and optimize it for your use case. And this is the structured data. You can specify what kind of structured data you want at the same time. Now, going back to the dashboard, I talk about the API call. So that's where you can manage, there's a place where you can manage your API key. And that's what distinguishes the Moorcheh from, let's say, Notebook LM. This is built for production. Everything you do here has an equivalent on the backend side. And you have access to a public API. You can create an API endpoint and it gets authenticated for every call. And these are all built with the maximum security and best practices for production level um, AI systems. And you also get a monitoring dashboard. In the monitoring dashboard, you can monitor all the usage, all the performance, all the timings and success rate, and the logs of calls to your API endpoints. Um, Now I switch to um, uh, now I switch. I'd like to switch gears now. So this is the dashboard, but we want to go back to talking about the enterprise.
Yeah,
This is
before doing that, Majid,
yeah.
so with this tier, we offer this tier to hobbyists or developers. They can build 3 different applications, right, on top of Moorcheh. And pretty much, yeah, the first one, the builder tier.
Mhm.
And they get, how many credit do they get, Neil?
They get 500
500. Yeah.
credit points
Mhm.
per month.
Yeah.
And the credit units is very generous. Basically, you don't pay for the storage, you don't pay for namespace, and it's unlimited, kind
Mhm.
of. The only thing you pay is when you hit the semantic search, and that is 5 units, which is 5 cents per 1,000 queries.
Yeah.
And then on the ingestion side, because there's a lot of work that goes into the ingestion, it's 1 unit per 10 megabyte of
Mhm.
ingestion. And when you are listing, updating your management, you pay for that. The biggest cost is when you hit the LLM endpoints. So we have 3 different tiers of LLMs: standard, advanced, and premium, and each of them has different units of economy. But we have simplified it It's one compute unit is 1 cent. And basically, the idea is to invite you to build your products, not worrying about the cost at all.
Right.
So it would be enough for builders who want to test things, who want to test their ideas. They can do it very quickly.
Yeah, and that is why we offer that to researchers. We host a lot of hackathons and give it to hackers, right?
Yeah,
Or even like developers with tiny projects. They can just come and contribute to the community. We have a Discord channel that they can all contribute.
yeah. And the core features and elements, if you're interested, you can um, read through here. But for people who are really building a real AI products, and they are on uh, they need infrastructure that is in the regulated spaces like legal tech, fintech, healthcare, and any other infrastructure. You want to own your infrastructure. You don't want to upload anything outside your premises. That's where the sovereign cloud comes in. With sovereign, you get unlimited you can do unlimited number of search and you can build as many um, intelligence capabilities as you want. Basically build the entire AI knowledge base on your own private cloud. And that's what we want to go through today in more detail. um, do you guys want to add anything here? Maybe I missed
No, we're pretty much going through the enterprise,
okay.
Moorcheh enterprise.
Okay, so I stopped sharing this. Just remember, this dashboard is our generic dashboard for everyone who's coming in. But anyone who installs Moorcheh Enterprise, they will get equivalent dashboard of their own as a private monitoring system. And we will talk about that later. Yes, Neil.
Yeah, just wanted to double click on the enterprise version. As you already seen that we have a upload and upload console that you can upload a file inside the console. Right now we are supporting the certain file into the console on a public end. But if you are on enterprise version, we are supporting the PPT as well, Excel as well, and have a support for a PNG, JPG, and all the other image format. And we does the embedding on our own, and
Yeah,
you just need to upload the PPT or the images, and
yeah,
we'll take care of the like how we want to embed that, and it's all done automatically on our backend.
yeah. And we can maybe show an example because I
Yeah,
was really impressed. I had a PowerPoint presentation that was all images, like it was
yeah,
all turned into images. There was no actual text, and then we uploaded. And then when you ask questions, it actually answers it from the content. We can actually show that later on.
yeah,
So now let's switch gears and talk about the enterprise. So and now I want Tara to talk about the business aspect of why Moorcheh Enterprise would be um, a saver for a lot of people who are building AI. Why it would be a good option?
Mm-hmm. So we've done a lot of research and market search. We have talked to a lot of technical CEOs, CTOs of these big industries like legal tech, fintech, health tech, ad tech, ed tech, golf tech, the SaaS companies that they started a few years ago, and now they're scaling, right? They're scaling and they have to scale their infrastructure. So they are hitting bottleneck right now, and that bottleneck is the compute, right? So that compute cost is significant, and that's the stopper. So when we talk to CTOs, head of AIs, technical CEOs, they need to keep the accuracy high. They need to bring down the latency, and they get more requests from their customers, like lawyers or researchers or doctors. But the problem is, in order to keep that high accuracy promise and low latency promise, they need to move tiers. within their infrastructure. And because they're dealing now with millions or billions of documents from PDF, Excel, images, they need to think about fundamentally what they want to do now for the next couple of years, right? That's where we come in. And because we free up 97% of compute and memory, they are able to scale and keep that promise to their customer, right? The high performance promise to their customers. So that's what we are seeing right now, and that's the bottleneck we are focusing with Moorcheh. We have published papers on archive that compares Moorcheh's accuracy and latency with other big names in the market like Qdrant, Elasticsearch, OpenSearch, and it actually uses a lot of data set, like legal data set, finance data set, and those data set using MARE benchmark can be tested. So yeah, we know that exists, and let's go back to you, Majid.
Yeah, thank you. So you mentioned it's reducing 97% of compute and requirement. That sounds too good to be true.
Too good to be true, yeah.
But I have to explain how is that possible, and that goes back to the architectural design. So Moorcheh is leveraging some kind of customized, binarized process it's very efficient, but that's not where the actual compute saving comes from. It comes from the architecture. So we've designed an architecture that is fully serverless and cloud native with microtransactions doing all the work. And let me share my screen and explain how this was achieved. It's quite unique in the way we approach the architecture. Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. It might look overwhelming, but I will go through it. So on this is our architecture on AWS, and we have two parts to the architecture. There's the two main parts, which is the private side and the public side, public endpoint. Nothing is public data. It's just it gives you ability to expose through an authentication layer and build your actual product connected to your front end, and use it as your fully managed backend. And there is not any single EC2 instance or compute instance. The entire operation is done using microtransaction and micro compute using Lambda functions. And Lambda functions are very efficient and very economical to use. And also it uses a fraction of the time to execute. Let's say if you have an operation that executes within 20, 30 millisecond or 50 millisecond, you spin up the Lambda and that does the job, and that's over. And you don't have to wait, or you don't have to manage a giant monolithic piece of code to do everything for you. So let's say most of, I would say 99.9% of the infrastructure tools that you see on the market, they are running on Kubernetes clusters, and they do everything all at the same time through a monolithic architecture. And to scale that, you need to increase the RAM, you need to increase the computation, and keep managing that instance. In Moorcheh architecture, uniquely, it's designed to not have any server. So you don't have to manage any server. You don't have to scale anything. It scales automatically. So everything from ingesting files, authenticating users, and accessing the endpoints, embedding, chunking, accessing the bedrock models for LLMs, intelligence, and also monitoring, reporting. Everything goes through several layers of Lambda functions, and organized automatically and self managed. Now, uh, Neil, would you like to add a few points on the architecture design that we have
Ye-
here?
Yeah, sure. And just want to add one or two thing, I believe. As Majid mentioned, we are fully serverless and we are firing up the server Lambda on the spot when we need the particular thing. And there is one another thing that we are dealing with, which is with a large amount of data. As we already mentioned, that you got upload the 5 GB
Mhm.
of your file. So how does that work? So if you go over onto the top with the API gateway, you could upload the data into the S3, and the way we are organized is we do the like once you upload the data into the S3, we take that data, put it into the SQS so it does not overwhelm with the numbers of files, and we make sure that all the file has been getting chunked. And if there is like a lot of usage, we can increase the SQS size dynamically as per our need. And once we do that, we pass it to the Lambda where we do the chunking and we do the image embedding and all those things. And after that, there's a point come where we need to do the binarization of the chunk that we have converted from the file. So at that time as well, we need to make sure that Lambda does not overwhelm. We not send the too many messages. Along with that, we need to make sure that we are embedding all of the chunk. And here's the place where we are actually doing the mechanism of doing the binarization. So if
Mhm.
you see over here in the screen, there's a one worker Lambda on the right hand side. So at that time, in the slightly left, we have a SQS queue. So that queue will take care that no matter how many chunk we are sending,
Mhm.
it goes sequentially one by one to the Moorcheh worker, and it does handle the like a large amount of file, let's say
Yeah.
5 Gbps, and you can upload around 14,000 or 24,000 of chunk at a time in a short
Yeah.
span of a 20-minute, I believe. And
Yeah.
also, yeah, that's a great point. And also, like there's a one another thing that we are handling when we do the deletion, when we use do the if you want to delete namespace, it has
Delete. Yeah.
like a millions of chunk. So
Mhm.
we are using the same architecture to delete the whole thing, and we are make sure that all the things have been deleted and there is nothing cache that does
Yeah.
cause the trouble while searching it.
So there has been so many tests and back and
Yeah,
forth to make sure that this architecture works flawlessly all the time without requiring any supervision.
yeah,
And that's the biggest point, because what you get with Moorcheh Enterprise is the entire architecture, which I said it resembles a whole factory. Okay?
yeah,
This is the entire AI factory that you get built on your own land, which is your own private cloud. So nothing goes out. You have full control of all the processes within your private cloud. You can you can create applications that talk to your public endpoint, and you will have the private endpoint that accessed through your own dashboard. So you get the no code upload system, and you can also create codes using the Python SDK and also API, directly embedding API calls into your um, production. So now I think we talked enough about the architecture, but another, I would say, magical thing that happens, at least from my point of view, which is fantastic, is how an entire factory gets built automatically out of the plan in a new private account. And we want to walk you through the process of installation of uh, Moorcheh Enterprise, because this is so huge and has so many functionalities and so many components to it. I would say at one estimate we had about 400 assets being
yeah,
built when you deploy this, and we're using Terraform. So it might look intimidating, but in reality, it's actually very easy, and we're going to walk you through the whole implementation process. So I stopped sharing and I asked Neil, maybe within 15 minutes, walk us through what people need to do if they want to get um, the enterprise Moorcheh installed on their platform.
Sure. Let's dive right in. Before going into that, would like to explain the way we are handling the state and how we are deploying and how those things work and overall flow for the deployment side. So we are handling the infrastructure from by using Terraform, and the way we are managing, we have encouraged user to manage the state on a Terraform cloud and use the AWS CLI to do the deployment. In that way, you will have the full control over how the deployment can look like. You will have the full control over what you want to change in your code and all those kind of things. But the main thing, the core thing is the state of your infra is managed onto the Terraform cloud. So there's a one small setting that you might need to look at it on a Terraform cloud when you want to do the let's say if I go to the this particular project and I want to deploy this project. So all most of you are familiar with the like how you can access the Terraform in a cloud. It's just like really easy, but just one login. But in Moorcheh, we prefer to encourage you to select this local custom. Right now, I have set it to the default because that's what I'm using as a local custom, and the same thing it does. It do the deployment on locally, but manage the infra on manage the state on Terraform cloud. And another thing, prerequisite is to have a AWS account, which is always thing for a deployment of the infra. And the way we can do it is create an IAM role, use create a secret key and access key, do the configuration using AWS configure. And once you do that, it permanently set your account to the CLI. And if you want to change that, run the same command and you can change any account you want to. So we are running a multiple account to test that and like to test the server side, to test the client side. So it's really handy for us to change the way credential by using the AWS CLI. Once you do that, you need to grab two things. One is the name of the organization, another is the name of the workshop. As I showed earlier, you can find the name of the organization from over here, and the name of the project can be found whatever the name that you want to give. So you could take that name and then you could put it over here, and I'll show you where exactly I mean to put that thing, which is over here into the backend. You can replace these two things that I
Mhm.
showed in a README file. So once we do that, to do the Terraform login, we are good to go with authenticated, and then we do the authentication for the AWS CLI. And the core thing that comes into the play is the environment variable. That is really crucial how you handle your infra and how the naming convention will work for entire architecture that we have right now. So let's go one by one and we'll go through the variable as well and we go through the README as well. So the first thing is the name of the project. This will be the really crucial and what are the name that you want to give it. We encourage enterprise user and other user as well to have the serverless rag mode shape.
Mhm.
That way we can understand every resource is
Mhm.
created by start with that prefix. It's under this particular architecture. So whenever we want to do the debug, it's really handy for us. And whenever we want to check the log, we can easily do that.
So
And this is
just
yeah,
let me add. So if you already have infrastructure in that account, there's no conflict
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
The entire all the assets that are related to Moorcheh will be identified by this prefix.
yeah,
All of them would be this name, so you can identify quickly if you have other assets, so you can separate them. Yeah.
yeah. And this is the environment. Like if you want to go for the enterprise, you will obviously select the prod. And if you're just testings, can select the dev as well. Select the region, and this could be the any region that you want. And this is the one thing, like when it comes to the enterprise, we'll discuss what region you want to deploy beforehand, and we'll collect the requirement accordingly. That will decide the region by taking into the mind of like where your user ways actually reside in, what kind of data that you, what kind of AI model that you want to use, then we'll decide the region and then just implement the region over here.
Right.
And these two three things will be provided by us, and we'll be managing these three things. So you just need to if you go to the environment variable, you just need to replace these three variable, and we'll give the value to you to like deploy the thing. And once you do that, like we have the embedding model as cohere v4, and the dimension is 1536. And the thing that I mentioned about AWS region, that is really crucial while we handle the inference profile. So we encourage you to like uh, have this thing as a
Yeah.
default as of now if you are deploying to the CS
Yeah.
Center one.
We would
And
walk you through all the options. It
yep,
doesn't have to be Cohere, but Cohere is one of our
yep,
preferences. It's a multimodal, and it's very efficient. But of course, you could have
yeah,
any sort of um, models available on Bedrock. By
yep,
default, we limit ourselves to assets that are available through the private cloud on
yep,
AWS Bedrock. So we have an equivalent architecture on GCP that is coming out. So if you
yeah,
want to build everything on the Google Cloud, but for us, the idea was to keep everything as a hermetically closed, sealed environment. Yeah,
yep, yep.
go ahead.
Makes sense. Yeah. And this is the amplified domain, which we'll talk about once you you will be given the front end repo. Once you deploy that, you will get a rep amplify URL, and you could put that into the amplified domain URL. So that will consider while doing the authentication. And then this is allowed origin, which like if you are testing locally and using the 3000 port. So what we did was in a front end is we restrict the front end to open up onto the 3000 port only. So by you will not open any other port by mistake, because in the back end there is a restriction that it only support the 3000 port. If you want, you can add the another port as well. That's an optional. And we encourage the Lambda architecture to 8664, and this is the Lambda logging retention period. It will be good if we have the
Okay.
365.
So I
And
would say let's skip the
yep,
settings
yep,
and let's go to an example of. So these are all easy to set up. You just
yeah, yeah,
copy them,
yeah,
and we will walk them through. But now let's go to actual setup. How does it look like
yeah, sure.
on the AWS side? And
Yeah.
if you have an example of deployed system, we want to see what we get on the
Okay,
enterprise side.
sure. Just wanted to mention one thing only over here,
Hmm.
and then we'll go to the deployment and how it look like.
Yep.
So there's a one crucial thing that is given to you when you are dealing with an enterprise as a license key.
Hmm.
So according to your agreement and according to your contract, you will be given a license key, and you can put that into the environment variable. And once you do that, you will be getting an access, and all those images you will be given a guide for that. So let's go to the product over here, and I'll be taking this enterprise version. And you could see I have a three namespace covered over here. So the extra thing that we covered into the enterprise is a management of the user. So if I go
Hmm.
over here, you'll ask me the name, password, and this password is handled by the AWS Secret Manager as well as your environment variable. So right now, as you can see over here, I have invited one user, and the way it can be done is I can invite any user over here, and then give it a name, any name that you want to give, and then
You
if you
control.
want, yeah, the control of the namespace, it is really crucial when you want to manage
Mhm.
the user and have the access to a certain namespace. Let's
Okay.
say you invite a user.
So let me add a bit of
Yeah,
context
sure.
here. So in your environment, so there will be one person who's an IT person who is handling the backend, the infrastructure. That person installs the entire Moorcheh architecture, and also becomes the admin of the dashboard uh, side. And that admin can add developers as users. And
Yeah.
then as developers come online, they can also manage the access. They can also become either admins or they can become like normal users. So you have full layered control over who accesses what on a necessity basis. So
Yeah.
if some of the namespaces are not designed to be accessed by all your employees, even you can restrict access from here.
Yeah. Perfect. So once you create a user, you'll get a password over here. So when that user wants to log in, it asks it to the create a new password, and once it does that, you will be he will have the access to the certain namespace that is given to him.
Mhm.
And let's say you want to change later on the which namespace you want to give the access to. So here's the list of the namespace. Let's say you want to give the access of your taste to, and you could just click on that and okay. Okay, over here, once you there's a one user. Let's say I want to give access to another namespace. I go over here, select the taste to namespace, grant an access. Will be the access will be grant to that user, and now it shows that there's a two namespace for that user. So that user will access that, and in this way, the admin have a full control how the data is being managed.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to add, like we could like in a future version, if you want. Right now we don't have documentation for a specific enterprise version, but
Mhm.
if you have any customization in your mind, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you the documentation for the specific endpoint that you have created, and your developer will be easily access and handle the whole thing from
Yeah.
over here.
But right now, all the we have a lot of support on the documentation side, which
Yeah.
helps the developers to build the actual product.
Yeah.
And now I want to do a bit of example from one of our customers, like talk about one of the use cases. So they
Perfect.
are building uh, a large application for many customers that they have. So they told us they're gonna have hundreds of companies as their customers, and they are building an amazing application that potentially hundreds or thousands of people will be using it on a daily basis. And they started testing the entire backend and building their um, application on top of Moorcheh. And what we they found out was that first of all, um, it handles large volumes of upload, and also it can handle thousands of requests per second on the same time. And most amazingly, if they don't do it, the cost is zero. The
Zero, yeah.
infrastructure cost for having this entire system is practically zero. And they don't need to manage any servers. And I think the selling point really was when they installed the enterprise and they went on testing it for a couple weeks, and then we didn't need to get involved at all. So the
Yeah.
system was working on this, and they pressure tested it, and I think that was a selling point because uh, there's no overhead for management of the system. And also on the maybe Tara would talk about the cost saving aspect of it. Um, the to wrap up, is there any other part Neil you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, yeah, just a one thing regarding the serverless thing that you just talk about managing the infra when you're dealing with a server. So I think from the development perspective, it's a huge thing to manage and scale your infra when you're running the server. If you are running the EC2 machine, then you need to make sure that you add the server at the spike of the your usage,
Mhm.
and you scale down when there's a no usage. So it kind of avoid the extra need to manage that whole thing, so that add up the little extra benefit on for the developer to like do not worry about anything other than the application layer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And one more thing, one of the new customers was asking us was about updates and rollbacks.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to me because my mindset was completely different. They were talking about, let's say, a vector database, let's say, no, like a Qgent or Elastic or anyone. The update of these systems is a really big headache.
Yeah.
Is a point of stress. It's very stressful for the DevOps usually because they're scheduled at times that you don't expect, maybe, and you don't know what's going to happen with every update because the entire system would be shut down
Yeah.
and it has to go down, it has to be rebooted, it has to restart. But what is again unique about Moorcheh is that you never have to shut down your
Yeah.
operation. Let's say if so, because each time we update individual um, components in separately,
Yeah.
and meanwhile the rest of the system still functional. So your database never has to go down if we, let's say, we want to update your, let's say, ingestion pipeline.
Yeah.
Your Gen AI system still completely functional. It
Yeah.
never has to be shut down, right?
Yeah, that's the core benefit. Like the way we divide the microservices, the any part that we want to change, we just change that image and we are good to go.
Yeah, and maybe yeah, and
Yeah.
those images are being held on ECR and being pulled over automatically. Again, for the DevOps, it's just a matter of a simple routine deployment or update, right?
Mhm. So, so that was a dashboard, right? The dashboard that the customer is going to build on their own using Mocha infrastructure. So when they are going to handle multi-tenancy and currency and also like keyword search,
Hmm.
I think we should be able to, kind
Yeah,
of show that on a use case.
yeah. So there are still a lot of features we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty unique to Moorcheh. One of them that you just mentioned is the ability to do filtering, or keyword search, and metadata filtering. The fact that your database is not a fixed SQL database; it's a flexible NoSQL. You can define as many metadata at any form you want. You can you have full control over a lot of aspects of your data that most other databases do not provide. Um, and that all have been added layer by layer because our customers wanted to build a fully functional application on top of Moorcheh. So we kept adding these functionalities and polished it over time and tested it for ourselves as well. So we have been, the expression is like dog fooding. So we have been using our own platform to build like high level chatbots and and a lot of applications like legal tech applications. We build it ourselves just to make sure everything works.
Yeah.
And in terms of security, we are already going through the SOC 2 compliance, which not it's not only the architecture and the best practice in the coding, it's a full audit of the entire, like the company, basically all the practices the company has. And uh, if someone is building infrastructure for AI applications on regulated industries and they need HIPAA compliance, SOC 2 compliance, I would say the best option for now is to go on one of these major cloud providers, Google Cloud or uh, AWS, create an account that is fully HIPAA compliant or SOC 2 compliant with audits, with regular checks, and there has to be automated validations for all the functionalities. Then, once you deploy Moorcheh, which is also SOC 2 compliant and also passes compliance, you have a fully enclosed solution on your own system. And that's the most assured way and least path of least resistance for building these kind of applications. Okay, we don't have much time left. We gotta wrap up, and there's still a lot to talk about
Yeah.
Moorcheh functions. But if there's anything, last things you want to add, let's go. Let's do that.
Yeah, the other important things is when some of these companies, they have started with other infrastructure like OpenSearch. Now they want to do migration to Moorcheh. We have a path for that migration, easy migration. So they have several methods to go with. They either can migrate the whole infrastructure from OpenSearch to Moorcheh because Moorcheh handles metadata, keyword as well as vector search, or they can have a hybrid if they want to start with hybrid for the application that they're having and they are scaling to millions of documents. So they can keep the metadata, multiple embedding with OpenSearch, and do the vector search by Moorcheh. So the option is there, but for the new applications and new product MVPs that they're building, they can fully go with Moorcheh from the start.
Yeah, good point. Neel, do you want to add some last?
No, I guess that's all from my end.
Yeah, I want to just add one more thing. That Tara was saying, it reminded me that we are going to be on AWS Marketplace soon. That's on our roadmap, and also on GCP. So if you are using Vertex AI on GCP, or you're using OpenSearch on AWS or any other platforms, and you are thinking ahead that you will need a platform that is not going to drain your budget when you scale, then you could consider Moorcheh as an alternative, and you can test it. And we will be happy to facilitate any kind of MVP if you want. We have to prioritize, obviously, those customers who have large operations on cloud. It's not designed for hobby projects. As I mentioned, we have this community tier if you just want to test and verify things for yourself. But if you are already spending millions of dollars, or you have projects that are costing you millions on the infrastructure, on the cloud, then we can talk about how Moorcheh can help you reduce the overhead, both in much faster product development and also long-term cost reduction on the infrastructure. Yeah, I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll be posting this video, and we will be we hope we can keep this conversation going. Please give us a comment, reach out to us if you have questions, if you have comments. We'll be happy to respond. You can also email us at support@moorcheh.ai, or reach out to us on LinkedIn and our Discord channel. And basically, we would love to have you within the community. And that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Majid. Thank you, Neel.
Yep.
Bye.
Can you stop recording? I need to show something. Or if you want to keep the recording and cut it later, that's fine. I want to